All right, so today I'm looking at a concept which can be referred to as co-therapy, and it's the idea of having two psychologists working together to help a client or multiple clients. So co-therapy, commonly seen in things like couples therapy, group therapies, as I mentioned, or forensic therapy as well. And so the way that this system works is that I've got psychologist 1 over here, psychologist 2 over here, and they essentially respond to the user one after the other. So we go psychologist 1, then psychologist 2. Now, if memory is enabled, it's going to go psychologist 1's response, and then all the way through their memory. And then psychologist 2 is not actually seeing their memory. They have independent memories. They're only actually seeing what psychologist 1 and the user outputs. And then psychologist 1, on the other hand, sees the previous conversation that have come from psychologist 2 and the user. So it always sees the previous 2 responses, given that there's 3 entities being the psychologist 1, psychologist 2, and the user. And that's the way it's seen the whole context. So just for an example, I've got the memories turned off at the moment because the processing time does take longer, given that it's really having to go through 6 models to actually return. Hello?
Welcome. It's good to meet you. What brings you in today?
It's lovely to meet you too. I'm curious, what feels most pressing for you right now? What's been on your mind?
And yeah, so essentially that's how it works. So when if I reply again, then psychologist 1 is going to also be able to read psychologist 2's response and whatever I respond down there. And the idea behind this is that essentially you can have 2 psychologists who might be focusing on 2 slightly different things. Psychologist 1 here might be more thoughtful, analytic, while psychologist 2 looks to be empathetic and emotionally focused. And that could theoretically give a different perspective or viewpoint for helping the client. And I've said to keep their responses under 60 words, drive the conversation forward. That was a thing that I found in one of my previous videos. So I'm going to enable their memories, and I'm going to keep them really small so it doesn't take all day for it to process through everything. I find it takes on average about 40 seconds. So let's go from there. It's been a difficult week. And so it will process that all sequentially in the background. Once again, keeping the responses shorter does definitely speed it up, but I haven't actually put any specific limits on the memory, which is probably something I should do, so that they're not taking forever and spitting out. But we'll see how long the memories are in.
Difficult how? Can you elaborate on the nature of the difficulties you experienced this week?
It sounds incredibly challenging. What specifically made it feel so difficult? Let's explore what's been weighing on you.
Yeah, so definitely got empathy going there. They're asking just flat out, how's it been difficult? And then these memories down here. So this is obviously the output of the second memory module, which in the first one, it's asking for new extract all explicit new information, and then here it's asking extract all explicit unique information because the previous memories are being inputted into here as well. So that way it's essentially summarizing everything it's known before with any new information that's come from memory module 1, and that's the same for both there. And I mean, they're not super long. It's interesting that they are actually different in length. That's due to their I think I've just got the temperature set to 0.7 behind these memory modules here, which is just standard. And yeah, so you can see here in the background, the memories are actually updating a little bit differently. It's interesting here that they look to be largely the same, but that's because this is the first memory. Anyway, so I don't know if I described that particularly well, but there is things happening in the background that means that we're able to have a longer conversation. And obviously, the less context, the quicker it's able to go through things. And another thing to show is that it can update its memory. So, for example, I'll show you. It's being really hard. My dog Max had to be put down this week. So here in this message, I've stated my dog's name is Max. And then I want to see what happens if I actually change that information and say, sorry, my dog's name was actually Bob, and see to what extent the memory is able to be updated with that information. It's processing. Once again, I'm on an M1 Max computer, I think, with 32
That's
gigabytes.
profoundly sad. Losing a beloved companion is a significant loss. Can you tell me a little about your relationship with Max?
That's a deep kind of pain. It's natural to feel overwhelmed by such a loss. What made Max so special to you?
So now I'm going to say his name was actually Bob. Sorry, I forgot. His name is Bob, comma, not Max. Full stop. It's sad because we had spent so many years together. And, you know, I don't know who to hang out with now when I go out on my walks and all that. So as we can see here, dog's name is Max. That's here, first psychologist memory. Here we've got animal's name is Max, so it's correctly doing that. It's got that as an entity as well. I've got the entity of being patient, that's me, psychologist 1, psychologist 2, and the dog Max. Same over here, although psychologist 1 hasn't actually listed psychologist 2 as a entity, which is interesting. Can hear my computer's fan running up, indicating that it's working quite hard in the background. Once again, this would not work in the real world, the amount of time you have to wait for this. But in saying that, computing power will obviously speed up, and we'll be able to increase in all those speeds of returning.
That's a significant shift. Bob's name feels important. It's understandable to feel adrift without your walking companion. Can you tell me more about those years together with Bob?
It's so tender, that sense of losing a familiar rhythm. It sounds like Bob was more than a dog, he was a constant. What moments with Bob feel most precious as you recall them?
Alright, so psychologist 1 timed out in there. I do have a time out so that it doesn't last forever, which is probably going to completely stuff up the whole conversation going forward. But Psychologist 2 obviously didn't time out, but it did in fact it did update its memory that the animal's name is Bob, not Max. So that's just good proof that that aspect is working. So what I might do is we're going to clear the memory, and now I'll show you what could theoretically happen, just to show that they are in fact build on what the other psychologist says. And that will just show you if in fact they are interacting with each other. And I might disable the second memory just for now, just to speed it up a little. And I've cleared the memory, so this will be a whole new conversation. And we'll skip the hello step. This week's been really hard due to my dog passing away. You can see there, that's where the request timed out. It did actually do the second memory stage.
That's understandably devastating. Grief manifests uniquely. It's more than sadness. Can you describe what that grief feels like physically and emotionally for you?
It sounds incredibly painful, and it's beautiful that you're noticing the physical sensations alongside the emotional ones. Let's gently explore those physical feelings. They often hold deeper meaning about your loss.
Alright, so the Psychologist 2 obviously isn't noticing that it was Psychologist 1 talking about the physical and emotional. It's kind of actually responding to that. But I'll keep going, see what happens. Let's explore those physical feelings, emotional. I mean, emotionally, I've just felt, I don't even know how to describe it, just down. And physically, I mean, haven't slept for, I don't know, last 2 nights. I stayed up watching TV instead. So my speech to text obviously wasn't super clean then, but I feel like for a system to be effective, it would need to be able to understand.
It's common for grief manifests uniquely, and sleep disruption is a frequent manifestation. That TV watching might be a way of avoiding the intensity, a temporary distraction from the emotional weight. Let's gently examine what you're avoiding.
It sounds incredibly difficult, feeling so lost and disconnected from your body. That avoidance, that TV, it's a signal. What feeling are you trying to escape when you reach for the remote?
Alright, so yeah, they're kind of asking the same thing, which is like not necessarily helpful in co-therapy, and you can see the memories there. It is in fact appending now, not amending. It's getting longer. That's 1, that's 2. And it seems that Psychologist 1 might not actually be seeing Psychologist 2 at all, like Psychologist 2 is. So I'll have to check the code for that. Give me 1 second. So I have checked the code, and it definitely is bringing in the context of the user input plus the last model 2 output. So I don't know if it doesn't care or whether there's something deeper going on there for why Psychologist 1 isn't acknowledging the existence of Psychologist 2. That's interesting. Something to check there. But to really make co-therapy what it could be used for as well, what if we further suggest disagree if you have a better idea? And that way we'll start to see if they can sort of help to come up with new ideas together. Actually, so yeah, we'll say disagree if you have a better idea. Show your support for the other psychologist where you think their idea was a good one. They had a good idea. Alright, so this will also help see if the 2 psychologists are in fact interacting with each other. Let's go like that. Yep. Alright, let's clear the memory. Actually, you know what, let's just paste in what we had down here. So that's all from the previous conversation, but this is the new conversation that I've just put in. It is processing.
It's understandable the patient is struggling. Grief, even for a beloved pet, is a profound loss deserving of validation. I agree with the sentiment. Exploring the specific nature of the bond and the patient's coping mechanism seems crucial here.
Absolutely. The depth of the bond is key. Let's gently explore the patient's memories and feelings surrounding their dog, focusing on the emotional impact, not just the factual details of the loss.
All right. They're kind of talking about me, not to me, which is an interesting turn of events. Disagree if show your support for the other psychologist. Let's go. Talk directly to the patient. Let's keep that in there to make sure they're not just chatting to each other. Well, I guess I've just been feeling down. Do you have any suggestions for what I could do about that? And again, the second memory module's off, so it'll append to this and add more memory down there.
I agree with my colleague. Exploring those memories is vital. It's understandable you're feeling down. Let's unpack that down. Can you tell me, what's the feeling like? Is it sadness, emptiness, or something else?
That's a wonderful question. It's so important to pinpoint what down means for you. I agree with my colleague. Let's gently explore those feelings. Can you tell me about a happy memory with your dog? Let's start there.
All right, so good. This is pretty good proof that Psychologist 1 is actually definitely seeing Psychologist 2. Exploring these memories is vital because Psychologist said, let's explore the patient's memories. And now they're talking directly to me, which is nice. Understandable you're feeling down. And then Psychologist 2 clearly responding there as well. And it's good to see they're also agreeing. Can you tell me about a happy memory with your dog? We always enjoyed going for walks together. Full stop. We'd try and do it every afternoon as long as the weather was good. That was a happy memory. And again, we wait. These wait times are very long.
That's lovely. Those walks sound like a really special routine. Focusing on the details, the sights, sounds, even the feel of the sun, can help access those positive feelings. Let's stay with that memory. What specifically made those walks enjoyable for you?
That's beautiful, and I completely agree with focusing on those details. Can you tell me, when you think about those walks, what feeling comes up for you? Is it peace, joy, something else? Let's explore that feeling.
Cool. Awesome. The question is though, are they actually helping access positive feelings? Let's focus on the details of feeling come with you. So I don't know if they're offering that much that is different from each other to justify having two of them. And I mean, like, we could theoretically switch to a whole different model, which could be interesting. Once again, the reasoning ones take a long time to generate. And so, I mean, we could even completely change it. So what if we made this one, said you're a person-centered therapist? Centered, how do you spell that? I'm sure it'll know what I mean. And Psychologist 2, what if they're a Gestalt therapist? shake it up a bit, see what they give us. What was their previous question? Can you tell me what the feelings come up with you? Is it peace, joy, or something else? I guess there was a strong feeling of peace. You know, it's always good to have a friend that you can just chat to, and, you know, Bobby was a really good listener. So, I mean, person-centered Gestalt, they're not polar opposite ends of therapy modes, but it would be interesting to see if there were points of disagreement between them.
That's lovely you noticed that sense of peace, and Bob being a good listener sounds incredibly comforting. It's okay to simply acknowledge that feeling of peace. Can you tell me more about what Bob's listening felt like?
That peace is precious. It's the field in which you experience yourself. What exactly made Bob's listening feel so peaceful? Let's bring that feeling into focus right now.
So, Psychologist 1 said, can you tell me more about what Bob's listening felt like? And then Psychologist 2 said, what exactly made Bob's listening feel so peaceful? Let's bring that into focus right now. So they are actually asking two different questions, which can make it difficult if they're asking two different questions at the same time. So, I mean, we could either alter Psychologist 1 so that they only give advice and Psychologist 2 asks the questions. That way there's only one question to be given at a time. I don't know, let's try it. Who only gives advice? Who focuses on giving question? Who focuses on giving? Let's see what we do there. Because their questions were, what exactly made Bob's listening so peaceful? Feeling peace, tell me what Bob's listening felt like. Well, you know, there's been tricky things happening at work, and I don't feel that anyone there is going to listen to what's been happening. So, yeah, it's just been it was really helpful to have Bob who was able to listen, and, you know, he didn't interrupt. He didn't actually really care. I know, but, you know, he was good. He was good. Okay, so the speech to text obviously didn't quite catch. It was meant to be he didn't interrupt. He didn't actually really care. I know, but he was good. You know, he was good. So, see if that confuses them. Their memory's getting quite long.
That's incredibly insightful. You're highlighting a crucial need for validation and understanding, and Bob provided that unconditionally. Let's explore why that lack of judgment felt so good. What did it allow you to do, simply by having him listen?
That's a wonderful observation. Psychologist 1 has a great point. Can you describe a specific instance where Bob's non-judgmental listening was particularly helpful? What was happening, and how did it feel to share it?
So another observation is by having both Psychologist 1 and Psychologist 2 speak, that's a lot of listening time. And, you know, generally the balance should be that the client is doing more of the talking than the psychologist. Hence why I was limiting it up here to have your response be less than 60 words. But when you've got 60 plus 60, that could potentially be 120 words you have to listen to, which is getting probably more into the realm of psychoeducation. Their memories are getting ridiculously long as well of just repeating information. Hence why the second memory module is good. And so I really should see about how we can optimize that, possibly into the smallest possible model size, to get that speed along. So I might have a look to see what the smallest model I can find is. So yeah, I don't think that this co-therapy or dual psychologist chat model is actually more effective or is offering anything significantly better than just having one. So I might go back to just focusing on the one psychologist. But you don't know till you try. So thanks very much. Feel free to subscribe to continue these explorations into AI psychology.